I've been lied to, not just to myself, but by the world around me. Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 was not the atrocity I was led to believe it was. It came in the middle of the remake horror boom, but now that's kind of like the beginning of the remake boom. But wait, we've actually been doing this for a long time. This movie was critically panned upon release. Multiple things fed into this, but mainly Freddy being a petty and the serious tone that it leads into. Hard, like most of the movies that were coming out at the time, especially remakes. It didn't really mesh with what other people had come to see Freddy as in his later appearances. I watched this on March 3rd, 2026. Before this, I hadn't watched it since the 3rd or 4th grade in summertime on Comcast On Demand. Do you guys remember that? After I watched it, I went to a pool party. Me and my sister tried to drown each other, and then I cried and went inside and watched Spider-Man 3. Out of context clips are probably most to blame for the online dogging that this movie catches. It shows a couple bad shots of CGI, this infamous picture, which is iconic, but I'm pretty sure is just a behind the scenes. Yes, it's horrifying. No, it's not classic Freddy. We've heard it all before. The designers here really leaned very heavily into the realism of a burn victim in the movie, giving us a more melded together flesh, and really roughed up the bloody textures on the cheek with tasteful CGI enhancements, which I really appreciate. They leaned away from the traditional, more stylized look that we get in the original. This is exactly what they did with Leatherface's mask in TCM, but that movie doesn't cop nearly as much flack for it. I also joined the dog pile on this movie because it deserves it, whatever that means. Movies are a joint effort though. I mean, look at the credits for this movie. They're like 5 minutes. There are hundreds of people that work on this. So I have a list of notes that I wrote down while I was watching the movie. I'm just going to condense them and talk about things that I thought were cool while I'm working on another video that's longer and will probably get no views.
Freddy's new television series, A Nightmare on Elm Street. The series, Freddy's Nightmares. Don't let him catch you sleeping.
A complaint I had early on in my viewing was that the movie lacked the ethereal or otherworldly feeling that we got when we transition into the dream world in the original. When Chris goes outside, she's just looking for her dog. She isn't beckoned by Freddy. He has a good one-liner here too, which is something that people say that Freddy isn't in this movie, which is funny. I very much think he is.
I was just patting him.
The attic is another example of this being done poorly. It ties too heavily into the plot and isn't creepy at all until we get the jump scare at the end. We are always on our toes about what is and isn't real in these movies, but the fun is less when we know, because let's be honest, we all know when it's a dream, and more when the shoe drops. I think the opening dream sequence commits to this feeling when he's in the diner and is being ignored, and then in the kitchen when we see some nonsense cooking. In this scene, we also get a vignette around the edge of the screen, which I really like, because we're slipping into his POV, and it's showing how tired he really is, how dreamlike this all really could be for him. One thing that this movie does really well is taking advantage of the technology at the time and going from a real world environment and transitioning into the dream world. This happens multiple times, but two really intrigued me. The classroom transition is one of the more famous shots from the movie because it's executed so well. Not only is the compositing absolutely flawless, but before the transition, her classmates around her are moving in slow motion. It really lends into that feel of not being able to touch a doorknob or call 911 when you're in a dream. You and your dream aren't exactly lined up. The other shot that really frosted my cookie is the hallway blood scene. The red carpet is immediately striking, but her feet are hitting completely solid ground, and then the carpet waves like they're liquid before Nancy immediately sinks like a stone, grasping at the very real walls around her. It's so cool. We also get this cool shot of the environment flickering back and forth between the grocery store and the boiler room, or whatever that room is. And we get this really smooth transition from a picture into a flashback of when the picture was taken. It's crazy how well they went from 2D to panning around the kids. Altogether, visually this movie works. It isn't blown out, it isn't color graded to hell, it isn't flat, the dark scenes aren't unwatchable, and the camera moves through environments in very engaging ways to keep us immersed.
Favorite bad dream, once again slashing its way into the hearts of America with...
Hold it right there, Squeakers! If you think I'm gonna settle for just another sleazeball video promotion, you must be dreaming! Smell this glove!
In this movie, we're given a lot of Freddy who does a whole lot of standing and walking around. He doesn't do a lot of transforming himself or anything really freaky to himself, making him feel like kind of just a guy. With a character like this, we want to see him do the impossible, but the movie is just kind of letting the scene around the characters do a lot of the heavy lifting to make them scared. We also don't get enough time with the characters interacting with each other, making it feel like there isn't a connective tissue between them to make the weight of their classmates dying really matter. This is the problem that they set up in the beginning, with the classmates not really remembering each other. There, criticism. You happy? What the movie lacks in Fweddy gore, it makes up for in the kills, of which there are many interesting ones with great effects to boot. The knife in the opening kill is completely buried in that guy's neck. You know the one. It's set in the the one at the diner. To me, this is a lot more shocking when it comes around because it's not just giving the death as a cold open. We don't really know when it's going to hit. The Chris death is obviously not as shocking as the original with Tina's death because A, we know what's going to happen, and B, it's also not as impactful seeing her swing around to me because when we see Tina clung to the wall, anything with turning a set around or really pushing a character where they're not supposed to be carries a lot of weight to it. The swinging around of her body really does hurt though, especially when she hit the walls and oh my god, did they actually have to get Fweddy Kwewgr to cut her in the scene? How did they do that? The way the fabric rips in this shot, the way that the blood pours out while dropping her onto the bed, it's all super fucking cool. Freddy's glove was designed to be much thicker and heavier than past interpretations, and you really feel it when he cuts people. When you blast a hole in this guy's chest, it's shocking and visceral. The heavy glove really pays off here. The cellmate cowering on the corner just for a couple small shots, but then ultimately screaming that he's innocent, really makes the character feel like he exists within the universe outside of the confines of the story and shows the impact that this can have on the outside world when we're in this universe that has these horrible things happening in it. Now let's round out the video with a couple random notes that I had. I like that the characters are given a time limit due to the more psychoanalytical climate that we had after the original movie was released. It gives a gravity to this insane situation and makes the characters feel like they need to rush before things get worse and they can't stop Freddy. It's kind of inherent that things would get worse and worse as the movie goes on due to sleep deprivation with the premise of the movie. But giving the characters micro naps gives the writers the opportunity to scare characters without having to go into a full dream sequence. It doesn't serve the plot a ton, but it does give us a couple of cool jump scares. A huge problem for the movie for me is that Nancy isn't very well portrayed here. What makes the original such a great character to follow, and my favorite final girl, is that she buckles down and takes care of shit all on her own. Having her mom keep this random picture in a dresser, Freddy leading her to find out his past, it just takes away from the character having her own momentum and ultimately feeling like she's really responsible for Freddy's demise. Also, she's never like scared of Freddy. This is a scary movie. Freddy is scared. It's a scary situation. I don't think that the actor did a really great job here. It seems that most people's issue with the movie actually stem from the writing. The Freddy petty premise makes the kids forget each other, so they have no characters we care for because they don't care about each other and there's no group dynamic. It also causes most of the movie to be chasing Freddy's origin, which the idea of him being innocent is interesting, but ultimately they found out that he isn't innocent, so it kind of feels like we wasted time. The direction of the movie carries the intrigue with great visuals most of the time, great effects, great stunts and action that go hand in hand with each other. If you can put blinders onto the narrative, it's actually really engaging. It's not a complete mess like the out-of-context clips or the Rotten Tomato score would lead you to believe. On this watch, it was actually much more faithful to the original than I thought it was going to be, and it fit the tone for the era, updating it for a new audience. I actually have a whole video on whether or not 2000s remakes did exactly what they intended to do if you want to check that out. But what do you think? Am I way off base? Am I blinded by nostalgia? Am I a bald-headed dork that needs to get rid of his channel because he knows nothing about horror? You're probably right. By the way, when writing this video, I found this 16-year-old forum that came out around the time of the trailers release for the movie. There's a lot of really, really funny comments. I have it linked below. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual video. It's just really funny to me. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, share it around, subscribe if you'd like to. Be sure to tune into my next video on When a Stranger Calls Back. Otherwise, thank you for watching.